Hello and welcome to my shop. Today I'm going to be making a jig to actually self-center the base on your router plate. If you're making dovetails with some type of jig or something, that dovetail bit has to be center. The collet has to be center of the base or your dovetails are just not going to come out right. Today we're going to try to make one out of this 3x3 piece of maple. It's probably, I don't know, 6-7 inches long. Here's the tape. 6 3/4 inches long. Let's give it a try. Now this is a Bosch router plate. It's the fixed base. That is the one we're going to be making this jig for. And the first thing that you'll want to do is know what the diameter of that hole is. And it is 2 1/16. So we're going to take this 3x3 piece of maple. It's actually 2 boards that's been laminated together. We're going to turn this down and make a funnel and using the 1/2 inch collet. And you could actually turn it down, but that's kind of small to be turning down, but you could actually turn it down to a 1/4 inch if you got a 1/4 inch collet. But we're going to make it in kind of like a funnel, and on the lathe everything will be centered when it's done. Alright, now that I've got a complete cylinder, which is about 2 3/4 inches in diameter, we're going to leave it at that. I know the inside of that hole is 2 1/16, but we've got to stay bigger than that, and you'll see why here in a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is take down a pretty steep tamper, just kind of like making a wooden funnel, go down to a 1/2 inch and turn us a dowel, so to speak, out on the end of that. Alright, I've got a Bosch router here. This is what this piece actually looks like when you get done with it. Doesn't matter about this end. You can dress it up, make it decorative if you want. It serves absolutely no purpose for what we're going to be using it for. All right, the very first thing we want to do is go ahead and loosen this base plate up on this fixed base. And this will work too also with your plunge base. For time and video purposes, we're only going to do the fixed base. But you can see the amount of play in that. Well, somewhere in that movement is your center. And if it's not, I would take my router back to the store. But what you're going to want to do is take this piece and just plunge it right down in your collet. And like I said, if you are using a 1/4 inch collet, you will just need to turn that dial in down to a 1/4 inch. This one has a 1/2 inch, so I'm going to be using a 1/2 inch on it. And once you get that in there, just tighten it up. And it doesn't have to be as tight as what you would put it on a router bit. It just needs to be snugged up to where there's no play in it. And that right there is fine. Now with your base plate loose and that's snugged up in your router plate, just raise your router up till it snugs up against that funnel portion of that and lock it down. And then tighten your base back down in your center. That base plate is center on there. That's all it takes. And that will let your dovetail jigs or some of your other jigs work properly off your base, either your fixed base or your plunge base. What happens is if you're running that along and this is off center, you're running along with your guide or your fence or your jig or whatever reference off of this side, and then on the next one you don't realize it and you reference off this, then they're going to be slightly off. Or if you're using like the Porter cable dovetail jig, that base plate needs to be completely centered on that base, or your tails and your pins are not going to line up. Well, they'll line up with each other, but your board, the width of your board will be shifted to one side or the other. So you definitely do need that lined up center, and that simple little jig right there will do it. If you like the content, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It really helps your channel out a whole lot when you do that. Leave me a comment. If you like what we're doing, comment on it. If you've got questions, I'll try to answer them. Don't know everything, but we'll do the very best that I can to answer any questions that's given to me. And until next time, thanks for watching.